Look, I'm gonna level with you. Things are changing, the industry is changing, and as such, what it takes for us to become an influencer nowadays is very different to what it would have required a couple of years back. So with that in mind, I'm coming to you today in my finest Matrix outfit to talk to you about some outdated tips that you should not be following if you want to become an influencer, either now or in the years to come. Before we get to it, if you enjoy content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications because I upload content like this every single week. Right, I'm gonna jump right in and say something that I know people are gonna disagree with and I know will be controversial because I always have to throw something like that in my videos, right? So, the outdated piece of advice that I do not think influencers should be following is that you should never work with brands for free. Oh, I've said it. I've just said it. I've spoken about this concept on my podcast before, but I've never said this on YouTube because I know I'm gonna get some people coming for me. But before you do that, before you write that comment that I know you're drafting right now, I just need you to hear me out. By no means do I believe that you should be agreeing to gifted partnerships with brands where you are guaranteeing or you are promising to promote a brand's products, especially when you're working with brands who have budgets and who work with influencers and content creators already. They've just decided that on this occasion, or for you in particular, they're not going to pay you. I do not agree with that at all. I'm not talking about free labor in that sense, right? And I also totally understand that there is a negative side to some influencers accepting gifted partnerships because it can often lead to other influencers who want to charge decent, fair fees, them having trouble getting brands to actually pay them because so many influencers are accepting gifted partnerships. I totally understand that, right? What I'm talking about here though is that there are occasions where accepting a gifted partnership as an influencer does make sense. Now, these occasions are few and far between, do not get me wrong, but they do exist. For example, if you are super new to the game and you have a very small following, it's growing, like you're gonna get there, but at the moment you've only been on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube for a couple of months, right? So you really are at the very, very early stages. You don't quite have an audience who regularly look and engage with your content yet, but you have received an offer from a brand who you like and they have offered to gift you a product. And it's a product that you already like and you would probably buy anyway. In that occasion, sometimes I think it's worth taking the deal. And the reason why I think that is because it's experience. And one of the things that a lot of us forget when we are working with brands as an influencer is that the brand is working with us to get something from us. It's not just about us demanding money and us demanding X, Y, and Z. Brands are working with us because they're trying to get something from us, right? They're trying to gain access to our audience. They're trying to promote their product. They're trying to do loads of different things. And at the end of the day, when we are really, really small, we're starting out and we don't have an audience yet, we're not actually going to help the brand reach their objectives. We're not at a stage where us promoting their product is going to result in them, you know, getting loads of sales or anything like that. We're not there yet, and that's okay because we will get there. But with that in mind, if we're at that stage and a brand is offering us something which is gifted, it's okay for us to accept that and just be like, great, opportunity for us to build up our portfolio. Right? If you're at a stage where you're like, no, I've got an audience, like people look at my content and they look to me to recommend products or services to them, that's a different situation because now you've got something of value that you're offering a brand. And in that case, that's when you should be paid. That's only fair. I'm only referring to the times when you're super small now and you just want to get practice when it comes to working with brands and get a nice freebie in the process, okay? No shame from me in that occasion. There's also other times, and I won't dive deep into all of them, but the only other example I want to give is I have on occasion worked with a brand on a gifted basis when they're just a small brand who are trying to start out and I just want to help them and I like their products. I don't see anything wrong with that. I will never guarantee that I'm gonna give them a YouTube video and X, Y, Z. I'm not gonna guarantee any of that because at the end of the day, I'm not getting paid to guarantee anything. But if I like their products and they send it to me, I might mention them on my stories, right? The next time I use it, I might mention them and give them a shout out. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to support small brands. I used to have 2 boutiques, and when I was starting out and I had no money, there were a few influencers who were incredibly kind and would take a gifted bag or bikini, whatever it was for me, and if they liked it, they would post about it. And they are one of the main reasons why I was able to grow those brands. Like, I was incredibly grateful for them. And when I got the budget, I offered to pay them for their content because I now could. So let me just not go on too much of a rant about that, but that is my personal opinion. right? When it comes to working with brands on a gifted basis. I think there is sometimes a time and a place for it. All right, another piece of advice, which potentially may be controversial as well, I'm not quite sure, it depends on what fence you sit in. This advice is that you should abandon all of your social channels and move to TikTok. I have seen a fair amount of scaremongering, mostly on TikTok, which makes sense because you know, the TikTok creators love TikTok, right? That's why they're on the platform. They've seen success with it, so I totally get it. But I've seen a fair amount of scaremongering from creators being like,
if you're on Instagram, then just kiss your career goodbye, like the platform's dying. Or if you're on YouTube, then you should be worried because TikTok's going to overrun YouTube in the next couple of years. Like,
I see a lot of scaremongering because TikTok is flying at the moment. It's doing so well and creators can do incredibly well on the platform. Now, just because you can do well on one platform and just because one platform is growing does not mean that other platforms should be abandoned and we should be moving all of our content to TikTok. Now, this piece of like outdated advice, I say outdated, but it's quite recent, but it's just not accurate, can be very dangerous. If you are someone who does not like TikTok, because there are people out there who don't like TikTok, believe it or not, that is a thing. If you don't like TikTok, if you do not enjoy creating short form video content, if the style of content on TikTok does not align with yours and you find it very unnatural and you can't work past it, if you abandon your Instagram, your Pinterest, whatever it is, if you abandon those channels for TikTok out of fear, there is a big chance you won't see the success on TikTok that you have seen on other platforms. So yes, some people thrive on TikTok, but then some people also thrive on Instagram and some people thrive on YouTube. A lot of the time, whether or not you do well on a platform, it's often to do with you and how much you like the platform, how well suited you are to that style of content, and therefore how committed you are to really giving that platform a go. So if you don't feel like you want to abandon ship and move to TikTok, then please don't do it. It won't hurt you to start a TikTok if you have the capacity to do so. If you're ready for a new challenge and a new channel and you want to give TikTok a go, then oh my God, go for it, right? But don't abandon everything that you have. Don't get rid of your Instagram or stop sharing your Instagram content. Don't shut down any other platform that you have because someone told you that TikTok is the future and everything else is going to die. Multiple social media channels can and currently do coexist. It's not like there's only ever one that does well. There are always multiple and that will always be the case, okay? So hopefully if you're someone who was about to do that, these words have helped you and will potentially stop you from making a bit of a mistake. Okay, another outdated piece of advice, to rely on editing rather than your content. So this is like very specific to Instagram and what Instagram used to be like back in the day. So let's all cast our minds back to the year of like, I don't know, 2016, the year the algorithm was introduced. Life was good. I'm trying to think of significant things what happened in 2016. And all I can think about is the fact that the algorithm was introduced, which is so sad. That's the only thing I can remember about 2016. Anyway, so the year is 2016 and Instagram is only full of photos, like there's no videos on the platform yet, and all of the photos are heavily edited. They all have very heavy filters on them, and sometimes a lot of the photos aren't actually good. It's just that the editing have made them look sometimes not even better, just different. The editing is so impactful that you're like, oh, that's an interesting photo, regardless of whether or not the actual content of the photo is good, right? So back in the day, that would actually work pretty well and people would blow up as the result of it. But Instagram is a significantly different platform. That is like the understatement of the century. It is a very different platform now to what it was in 2016. And you'll actually see a lot more success as an influencer if you focus more on the content than on the post-production and the editing. So what I'm talking about here is, what is the purpose of that reel or that photo that you created? What's the message that you're trying to share? Are you trying to motivate people? Are you trying to inspire them, educate them? Are you trying to provide something that's entertaining? If there's nothing of value in your content, like if there's nothing, if you look at your content and you're like, I don't know what I was trying to do with that selfie, that's a problem. It's something that brands will not be attracted to. If they look at your content and they're like, I'm not quite sure what they're trying to do here, that's a bit of a red flag. But even more than that, you're gonna struggle to grow, especially on a platform like Instagram, but also on every other platform as well. You are gonna struggle to grow because people are gonna look at it and be like, what am I looking at here? How am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to feel as a result of looking at your reel, right? Now, that doesn't mean that we can just say goodbye to post-production and just be messy and sloppy with our editing and all that stuff. That's not what it means. It's just that we have to flip the importance of each of those things. So really, the content is the most important thing, and then the editing goes underneath it. So the editing should be used to enhance your content, not to make your content good. It's an enhancement of something that's already powerful. All right, next one. This is such a personal one, so I don't mind if you disagree. Putting DM to collab in your bio. This has bothered me for a while. This is such a pet peeve of mine. It's so unnecessary for me to feel so passionately about it because it really doesn't make a huge difference to your career as an influencer. But in my opinion, writing DM to collab in your bio is a waste of your bio space. The reason why is because if a brand wants to collab with you, they already know to DM you. And you know what? The same could be said for when you've got like email for collabs and you've got your email in there. If a brand wants to email you for a collab, they'll click the email button. And if you don't have the email button set up, then that's what I'm gonna need you to do after watching this video, right? So I want you to head to your Instagram, click on edit profile and add an email address there because that will mean that you'll get an email button set up. So the reason why this is such a pet peeve for me is because your bio on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever it is such a finite space. It's such a small space, right? So you should really be using all of the characters in your bio to connect with your audience, to explain to people what your content is and why you create content like that, to put keywords in there so that Instagram understands what your content is about, to include a call to action. If you've got a link in your bio, there should be a call to action in your bio that says, hey, click the link for, I don't know, my YouTube content, or click the link for my Amazon. Like, there's so many things you could be putting in your bio that are so much better than the words DM to collab. And another reason why this is such a pet peeve is because when you include that line in your bio, your page now looks like it is set up so that you can work with brands, rather than you creating a page for the purpose of you connecting with your audience. Like, as a previous brand owner, because this was when this pet peeve was developed, was when I owned my own 2 brands and I was looking for influencers to partner with. I would see that in their bio and I would think, well, now I just think you're only on Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is. You're only on these platforms because you want to work with brands, rather than me looking at your bio and thinking, oh, you're on these platforms because you just want a community and because you want to share good content. And I know that some people will be like, but I am only on these platforms to work with brands. So I know that's for some of you will be like, what's the problem? It's just a bit off-putting from a brand's perspective. And I can't speak for every brand in the world, but I can speak from my own personal experience. And I used to find it off-putting. I want to read a bio where I feel like I get an understanding for your passion for the niche that you're in, for your passion for creating content that your audience finds valuable. Like, that's what I want to see from your bio. So that is a personal pet peeve. Just get it out your bio and use that space for something better. Okay, so another really outdated piece of advice for influencers that I hope a lot of you aren't following. I think a lot of people have stopped thinking this way already, but in case you haven't, the outdated piece of advice or tip is to focus on growth over your engagement. Now, back in the day, if we cast our minds back again, how influencer marketing generally worked was that brands were looking for big influencers. They were like, okay, we're looking for influencers with the numbers. We want people who have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers. Those are the people we want to work with. We don't care about anything else. That is the only metric that we're looking for. Now, that has changed significantly and actually changed a while back, to be honest, where brands started to realize, like, hold on a minute, influencer having a lot of followers or subscribers does not actually mean that partnering with them is going to get any results, because unfortunately a lot of influencers started to capitalize on this focus on follower size or subscriber size and used inauthentic methods to grow their social profiles. So buying followers or subscribers, I don't even know if you can do that on YouTube, but like buying an audience or like getting people to follow you through inauthentic means, that kind of stuff. And because of that, it meant that when brands were partnering with these big influencers, they weren't getting any results. They were like, that's weird. No one's clicking on their link. No one's buying. No one's like reacting to the post. It's got no engagement, because these influencers would have an audience full of bots, essentially. So once brands woke up to that, they were like, right, from now on, we need to start looking at engagement rates. And if you don't know what an engagement rate is, it's essentially the percentage of your audience who actually engage with your content. Now, this is one of the most important metrics when it comes to influencer marketing, because if you have a strong engagement rate, it means that a lot of your audience see your content and engage with your content. So if a brand is looking for influencers and they're picking between 2, and then one influencer has 10,000 followers and an engagement rate of 0.1, the other influencer has 1,000 followers but an engagement rate of 10%. The influencer who has 10,000 followers but an engagement rate of 0.1% actually only gets 10 people to see and engage with their content on any given post. So their average amount of people who engage with their content is around 10. Whereas this other influencer who has 1,000 followers and an engagement rate of 10%, on average, they have 100 people who engage with their content. 100 people see their content and engage with it. So when a brand is picking between those two influencers, majority of the brands, like the ones who are really like, you know, clocked on to this whole influencer marketing thing, they will do the math and they'll be like, well, yeah, you've got 10,000 followers, but that actually only equates to like 10 people. Whereas you have 1,000 followers and that really equates to more like 100 people seeing your post. So I'm going to go with the person who has 1,000 followers, right? They're going to go with this person. I wish I could tell you that I could do that whole analogy without just checking my math, but I couldn't. I had to check my math, so judge me if you will, I don't mind. At least I got my point across, right? Engagement is what's important. So with that in mind, if you are trying to become an influencer now or in the future, I want you to focus on the health of your audience and actually work to ensure that you are engaging with your audience, you're responding to them, you're encouraging engagement from your audience as well. I'll link to one of my most recent engagement videos up here so you can get a good idea of how to do that. Okay guys, I really hope this video helped you on your journey to becoming an influencer. If you feel like watching more of my content, I recommend watching this video. It's all about my top tips for becoming an influencer or a content creator. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next video.